The past doesn't disappear. I'm sure mine is no exception. No matter how much one tries to cover it up, it reappears, like snow melting away to reveal the ground beneath. And if there were someone there to uncover it, it would appear even sooner. In the classroom, I watched Toko, but not enough for her to notice. Toko was looking at the blackboard during class, just as she normally did, but I could easily turn my eyes away from her, and I didn't feel the usual magnetic pull. In that moment, simply looking at Toko no longer satisfied me. Now that I knew what I knew, my heart was muddled with confusion and doubt. After that day, I went around the school and did a bit of digging. It was a simple enough task to find answers from teachers who had been working at the school around that time. I learned that Tuko's older sister had been named Nanami Mio, and I learned the significance of the student council play. The reason Tuko had diligently studied and gone from the person she was in elementary school to who she was today. I concluded that the Tuko I and our classmates normally saw at school was nothing more than a facade. She had neither self-confidence nor a strong spirit at her core. Tuko was pleasantly deceiving most people, pretending to be perfect. I had been deceived myself so far, but now, when I looked at Tuko, I thought I could see the shadow that lurked beneath. Now that I had found out, that fact had become an inextricable part of my past that would never disappear. The question of whether I would be able to love Tuko if she ranked lowest during an exam now came back to haunt me. I knew even less about myself than I did about Tuko, especially if the thing I sought from Tuko hadn't existed in her at all. What did I see in Tuko? While I was caught up in all those worries, something else came along to cause me even further distress. It happened just as lunch was ending and I was going back to my seat. When I put my hand into my desk in order to prepare for the next class, I felt the sensation of paper that wasn't my notebook on my fingertips. Wondering what I had put in there, I found a rectangular piece of stationery in my hand. Of course, it wasn't the letter I had written myself. What? It couldn't be, I thought, frozen in place. The realization came crashing down on me like a sharp impact to my head. First, I stealthily returned the mysterious letter to my desk, and then propped my head in my hands. I didn't have the composure to worry whether doing so was rude. I simply closed my eyes. I know what this is. I thought about the first time I had experienced this. First, I thought about whether they might have accidentally given it to the wrong person. But my desk was far from Tuko's. It's for me. The thought sent silent ripples of dread through my mind. My skin felt scratchy, and I remember that day when I once jumped into the pool. At the moment, I felt like I could jump right back in. If that happened, I wondered if she would still be there. I have a terrible habit, it seems, of always wanting to know the truth. It wasn't just with Tuko. I was the kind of person who couldn't stand not knowing things. The contents could be time sensitive, so I stealthily took out the letter before the class started and opened the envelope. For a moment, I thought a letter seemed old-fashioned for an age where cell phones were ubiquitous. but the person who sent this likely couldn't contact me by phone. In that case, an antiquated letter was a reasonable choice. That the method had lasted for this long meant that there was some meaning and value in it, I thought. I looked over the bluish white letter from top to bottom. To be honest, the handwriting wasn't pretty. The gist of the letter had been just what I was expecting, and told me the person would be waiting behind the school at the end of the day. Though the sender's name seemed like it was probably a boy's, I couldn't recall his face. We were in the middle of class, so I took a stealthy look around, when wondering whether he was in the classroom. Though I looked at the sleepy, rounded backs of the boys in the early afternoon, one after another, it wasn't as though they had their names written on them, so I couldn't pinpoint whether he was among them. Once I finished reading, I hid the letter in my desk. The words clearly stating that he liked me burned into my eyes like an after-image. It wasn't my first time being confessed to, but it wasn't as though I had gotten used to it either. Just like before, the contents of class wouldn't remain in my head, and the school day was over before I knew it. Tuko, who of course knew nothing of my troubles, came to my desk as always. I couldn't calm myself down, though in a different way from usual. Sayaka? Tuko tilted her head at me when I didn't move to stand up or get ready. I'm I'm not certain about today, I responded vaguely. My choice of words wound up stranger than I intended. Oh, do you have something you need to do at home? No, nothing like that. I'll head over as soon as I'm done. After I said it, the pulse in my wrist quickened, as I wondered if Tuko would guess my reason, since she had been in the same position before. Okay, then I'll head out ahead of you. Tuko's reaction seemed only surface deep, which was nothing out of the ordinary. Yes, the Nanami Tuko I saw during the day was actually just surface deep, I thought, as I watched her go, rooting me in my seat for a while. However, I actually had something I needed to do today. I had to go turn down someone's confession of love. I didn't intend to reciprocate the boy's confession. Well, at the moment, I would have turned anyone down, regardless of who it was. Still, it was a heavy decision. In order to keep from being discovered by Tuko, I waited a bit before I went down the path towards the student council room. I left the path partway and headed to that clearing, though I had never imagined that I would be summoned here myself. I already saw a shadow growing under the cover of the tree branches. Oh! The boy quickly spotted me and walked over, swaying strangely due to his nerves. Hello. I didn't know whether that was the right way to greet him, but at least I had to say something. The boy, who had been waiting, returned an awkward hello. I didn't recognize his face from class. At least, I'm fairly sure I didn't. He had a baby face and sloping shoulders, and limbs that were noticeable slender. I'm sorry for being late. Oh, no, I just set off to school and didn't specify time, so... At least I don't think I did, right? His voice almost seemed as though it would crack, even though he was taller than me. His back and knees were bent, so that it seemed like he was looking up at me. His letter had mentioned something along the lines of him admiring me. It was embarrassing that I already knew how he felt, since I now had to face someone who looked at me in that way. As for my response, first of all, I had to apologize. To start, I thought I should tell him the most important thing. The boy froze in his half-stooped stance, only his lips seeming to move as though they were rustling. Yeah, okay. His voice dribbled out in short spurts, with nowhere left to go. Then he straightened his back and knees and put his hand on his hip, but his torso was still decidedly twisted. I guess that's all there is to say then. The boy averted his eyes awkwardly. His ears turned red, revealing the blood and embarrassment circulating within him. The awkward silence lingering between us was the same as the atmosphere when a phone call had just been ended. But I felt that it would be rude for me to just say goodbye and leave him. Do you like someone else? The boy asked cautiously. A few days before, I would have been able to honestly answer yes. I'm not sure, I admitted, which really was my current state of mind. I felt like I'd fallen for a tuku that didn't exist, but I also wouldn't feel disconflicted if that were all there was to it, so I couldn't find a place to let my heart settle. Does that mean you, have someone you're interested in? I think so. I didn't know whether I really needed to reveal such things to a boy who had never spoken with before. Perhaps I just wanted to vent the worries that were plaguing me. Can I ask you something? This time, I tried asking him a question. The boy's shoulders stiffened as he nodded uncertainly. So, you like me, the way I am now, right? Yeah, yeah, I do. Well, thank you. I gave him a small bow. Oh, no, no. The boy humbly ducked his head several times. So, what do you like about me? Um, the boy's face contorted. His arms flayed uncertainly in the air, as though he were drowning. Is this are you trying to torture me or something? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. No, it's fine. The boy flapped his hand from side to side. I might as well tell you. It's your face. That's the number one reason, anyway. Yeah, you have a nice face. I almost laughed at the boy as he nodded earnestly, but only because it was exactly the same reason why I had first fallen for Tuko. I wondered if everyone was like that. Even Yosuke-senpai and that girl I had met in elementary school. In that case. Then, what if my face was a lie? Just humor me. What if the face I had right now was a fake that I used to hide my past? If that were the case, what would he do? I couldn't solve my problem internally, so I sought an external solution from a classmate whose name and face I'd only just learned. I didn't expect much from him. However, the boy appeared to seriously contemplate the question before replying. It's not like your past would cancel out who you are now. Although, on the other hand, it's not like your past would disappear because everything is good now. Still, it doesn't seem like you're tied to your past, so the way you are now is everything. If you're beautiful now, I like you now. That's all I can say about it. His answer had a lot more depth than I had expected. As I accepted it, I felt its weight and almost had the urge to stare at it until it melted away. But the boy was clearly growing too uncomfortable to bear. He shifted back and forth unsteadily. Well, you rejected me though, which is fine, totally fine. I hesitated for a moment about what to say to the boy. He repeated himself empathetically, as if to hide his embarrassment. Thank you, I said at last, because he had answered me. Not because he had come to like me, though. I don't think. No, I should be the one saying that. Sorry for calling you out here. Well, see ya. With that, the boy left quickly, heading off into the woods. I wondered how he was planning to get home from there. Wouldn't he get horrible bug bites from going through the dark, narrow gaps between the trees? I should be the one to say sorry. Never mind. I decided that it was better this way. The way you are now is everything. Left alone, I felt exposed, the wind brushing against my fingertips. I gently pressed the palms of my hands together. My hands felt neither warm nor cold,